My name is Zacchaeus Kafero, and the following my group members, Kwesiga Simon, Semakula Aidah, and Dr. Willis. And today we'll be presenting the following. We'll be introducing you to the PPPs, and also we'll be discussing the strategies that PPPs can adopt to increase their legitimacy in society. We'll also be discussing the key issues that need to be considered for successful undertaking of market soundness in the PPP cycle. Then we'll give you our conclusion after that. PPPs, known as public-private partnerships, are long-term contractual arrangements between the government and the private partner. For example, in Uganda, we've had quite a number of PPPs like Umeme, Entebbe Express Highway, Bujagali Power Plant, among others. There are some key features about the PPPs. For example, the private partner may be tasked with the design, construction, financing, operation, and management of a capital asset required for service delivery, as well as delivery of a service to the government or to the public using that asset. So I would like to call upon my colleague Willis to take us through the strategies that PPPs can adopt to increase their legitimacy in society. Otto, you're welcome.
Thank you. In order to increase legitimacy, the first thing the PPP we should ensure should have transparency. Transparency means that all aspects of the project are made, shown to the either public or representatives of the public. So questions can be asked, clarifications made, and we get a general buy-in and prevent fraud because of the transparency. We also need to develop a value for money framework. This will ensure that the project is done at a cost effective, so that the public does not lose any money. And this can be done by ensuring that careful selection is done on the partners, and the market rates are looked at. Then we also need to transfer the risks to those that manage them best. We don't want the government taking on the risk from the partner, the private sector, because the private sector is supposed to be able to manage the risk better because they are for profit driven. So they are more efficient. They have better internal controls to ensure that there is no wastage and quality is given. Next slide, please. We should also have a broader institutional support. A project should involve other players like PPDA, IGG, and other institutions of governance to ensure that there are sufficient checks and balances, because it's normally when there are scandals that the public gets to know that there were procedures that were jumped. We had the situation where a loser in one of the bidders who lost the bid sued Mint for the hydroelectric project, and because it was suspiciously awarded to someone else. So institutions should prevent that. We should also ensure that infrastructure projects are prioritized at senior political level. Our country is still politically driven, and the politicians have the power to either convince the public to support the project or to oppose the project, especially those projects that have social implications where land has got to be cleared for infrastructure. The politicians should have a voice. Then we should also consider public health and safety and the environmental concerns. This is just to ensure that the project is not just about development, but sustainable development. Thank you. I now call upon my colleague, Aidah Semakula, to present on the key issues that need to be considered for successful undertaking of market soundness in the PPP cycle. Aidah, over to you.
Sorry about that, Willis. Thank you so much. Market sounding is about basically conducting due diligence on the PPP to ensure that it will actually be successful. And some of the key stakeholders that are sounded are the private entities that have experience in that PPP, financiers that will provide revenue for the PPP, and the public itself. Market sounding should be conducted early enough in the PPP implementation to get enough information and also incorporate this feedback into the structuring of the PPP, but it shouldn't be conducted very late. It's important that the public feels that their interests are taken into consideration. Therefore, from the beginning, the public has to be involved in the due diligence of the PPP and to understand if it will be successful, but also to get buy-in from them. So from my diagram here, you can see that the best place to conduct market sounding is that screening and structuring. At this point, you collect as much feedback and also understand if this will be successful. So you can go back and restructure it and refine it before you go into contract awarding. Some of the key issues to sound to look out for are capital and operational structures. We're also looking at the infrastructure design, technical risks that could emerge. We're also looking at payment mechanisms and other revenue schemes. We have an example of Umeme. When Umeme implemented, when the PPP was implemented for Umeme, they had an issue with collection of debt. And until recently, when they came up with a good way, the prepaid services, that's when they managed to handle their debt. So it's important to understand if people will even pay and how you actually collect this money back and be able to pay the financier. Some of other aspects should be the timetable, the period from procurement to contract rewarding to commencement of services, proposed contract structures, and etc. At this point, I want to call upon my colleague, Simon Kwesika, to come and discuss for us the key issues to be considered for successful undertaking of market sounding in the PPP cycle. Over to you, Simon.
Thank you, Aidah. Number one is transparency. Transparency is very key for success of any project. One example I can give is the Katosi drinking water treatment plant, which was done by National Water. The key private sector players who lost petitioned PPDA that the contract was awarded wrongly to Sogea, but PPDA investigated for 3 months and concluded that everything was done transparently, so it was okay. There was no problem. Then the other key point is that you have to prepare for interfacing with these key private sector players. And an example I can give is the recent launch of Kampala Jinja Expressway by UNRA. It invited the public, it invited the key sector players, and some of them joined online. The third one is that the documentation has to be thorough, because here you need to ensure that the risk assessment is well done, the compensation is okay, and the structures are okay. And an example I can give is the Kampala Entebbe Expressway, is that the compensation was not done well at the beginning of the project, and this delayed the completion of this project. And the other factors that we have to focus on is that you need to consider one-on-one format. And this is good because these key sector players, they help you to identify the potential issues and problems with the project. Number 6, you have to involve more public authorities. These include PPDA, UIA, URA. These ones, they will keep you in check and ensure that the process is okay. The last one, you have to mind the language that you use, because here you want the respondents to give you critical feedback. So when you use the language of bidders, that one, it is not appropriate. And in conclusion, market sounding is good for proper process of implementing PPEs. And we have seen a number of PPEs carried out to deliver nice projects for developmental purposes across Africa and the world at large. Thank you. Aidah.